when my daughter-in-law tossed a massive grocery list in my lap and announced 40 of her relatives were coming for Thanksgiving. I was stunned. Before I could process it, my own son looked me in the eye and told me I needed to sleep in the garage so his wife's parents could have my master bedroom. They thought because I was living in the house I built with my own hands, I was their personal unpaid servant and doormat. I did not raise my voice, nor did I argue. I just smiled, looked them both in the face, and told them that was perfect, because I was packing my bags and leaving. I reminded them that I am not their servant, and they could cook, clean, and host 40 people all by themselves. The smug looks on their faces instantly vanished, but what they did not realize was that my departure was only the beginning of a surprise that would change their lives forever. I spent 40 years working hard as a contractor, building a solid life and a beautiful home. After my wife passed away a few years ago, the house felt far too quiet. So when my son Mark suggested that he and his new wife, Sarah, move in with me to save money for their own place, I welcomed them with open arms. I thought it would bring life back into the house, and I was eager to support my son as he started his family. However, it did not take long for the dynamic to shift completely. Within 6 months, Sarah had completely taken over the master bedroom, claiming her back needed the special mattress. Out of love for my son, I moved down to the guest room without making a fuss. I started noticing that I was doing all the grocery shopping, paying every utility bill, cooking most meals, and doing the yard work, while they treated the place like a free luxury hotel. The breaking point arrived 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Sarah walked into the living room without a word of greeting and tossed a 4-page grocery list directly into my lap. She informed me coldly that 40 members of her extended family were coming to stay for the holiday week, and she expected me to do all the shopping, prepping, and cooking. Before I could even open my mouth to digest this absurd demand, my son Mark walked in and added insult to injury. He told me that since Sarah's parents and siblings needed space, I would have to pack up my things and sleep on a cot in the unheated garage for the next 10 days. He said it with a completely straight face, as if asking his widowed father to sleep on a concrete floor in the middle of November was the most reasonable request in the world. They stood there waiting for me to comply like I always did, but a switch inside me flipped. I slowly folded the list, stood up, and looked at both of them. I smiled very calmly and told them that sounded like a great plan, except for one detail. I was leaving right then and there. I told them straight to their faces that I was not their servant. I was the owner of the house, and since they planned this grand party, they could handle every single bit of the shopping, cooking, cleaning, and hosting on their own. The color completely drained from Sarah's face, and Mark stood there open-mouthed, utterly paralyzed as I walked upstairs, packed my bags, and locked my bedroom door behind me. What they did not know was that I had already been quietly making arrangements to sell the house months prior, as I was planning to relocate closer to my lifelong friends in Florida. I had received a massive cash offer from a buyer weeks ago, but I was holding off on signing the final closing papers until after the holidays out of courtesy for Mark. When I walked out that door, I drove straight to my attorney's office and signed the immediate sale paperwork, scheduling the new owner's possession date for the day before Thanksgiving. I then checked myself into a high-end resort by the beach to enjoy a peaceful, stress-free holiday. 2 days before Thanksgiving, as Mark and Sarah were stressing out, trying to clean the house and prepare food for 40 people, the new owners arrived with a moving truck and a legal eviction notice. Mark called me frantically, screaming into the phone that strangers were throwing their stuff out and demanding to know what was going on. I calmly informed him that since he thought I belonged in the garage, I decided to sell the entire house to someone who actually appreciated it. They had to cancel the entire family gathering in total embarrassment, packed their belongings into a small rental truck in the middle of a rainstorm, and move into a cheap motel. They learned the hard way that respect is not optional, and taking a parent for granted comes with a price you can never afford. They thought they could push me into the garage and treat me like a servant in my own home, but they ended up losing the very roof over their heads. Respect is not something you demand while stripping away someone's dignity, especially family. Standing up for yourself might be hard, but walking away from toxicity is the ultimate victory.